To call the Norton Permanent Building Committee to order. Do we have minutes from a previous meeting?
We do not.
Okay, and there is no correspondence in our mailbox. So we will move into the agenda. Oops. It says something this...
It says the meeting is being recorded.
Okay, hold on. Oh, that's good, but we need to get rid of
Yeah,
that.
you gotta hit,
Click the button.
you just gotta click the button. Just gotta hit got it. There you go.
Thank you.
You just double tap it. There you go.
All right, that's good. I think what we're going to do, because Matt is here via Zoom for the school committee, we're going to have Matt go first, if that's all right with you.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So, we start with training and talk about that. Training has been moving forward. We've been doing, most recently we've done the plumbing upgrades, which is a lot of water efficient toilets and auto flushers. So that's moving through all the buildings and it should be done by the end of the month. We're moving also very quickly to our building envelope, which is a lot of window stripping and door sweeps and getting those upgraded to stop the airflow leaks in and out of the building. That's moving through all the buildings. It should be done soon as well. Mid to late December, we'll start with the cooler and freezer upgrades, which will build efficiencies into those. The big ones are boilers. We started so Yale has new boilers going in, the middle school's new boiler has been rigged, and they're both being dressed out at this point in time. We have run the new pipe at the Yale school, so we have seen an increase in the heat in the lower section, so we're getting much better heat flow through the building. The next really big ones are going to be the solar. Right now, we're still working through the interconnection agreements, as well as all the energy efficiency applications to get the solar, all that paperwork in place. What we're dealing with now, I think, with some of the stuff is unfortunately very unreliable supply chain. I think everyone's kind of seeing this in all areas. We're probably a couple months behind of where we thought we would be at this point in time, simply because materials are a little hard to get. For example, when we ran the new heat pipes in the Yale building, the pipes were easy to get. We couldn't get insulation for the pipes. So just very strange things where we just can't find certain materials. But we're working with that. It's gone pretty well. We're meeting with Train every other week to talk about the project and move that one forward. So any questions on the Train project at this point?
Any questions?
I have one.
Brian?
Matt, nothing that is going on with that is gonna have any adverse effect on the school, fields project, right? There's nothing outside that's gonna impact that?
No, the only thing that we were concerned about was the solar, putting in the solar panels, because they're carports. But we've connected with both companies, and there's going to be plenty of room to work around. Those carports are going to be large enough for buses to get them done. They're plow trucks, so we'll be able to work around those, no problem. So the two shouldn't really affect each other.
I just figured I'd bring it up. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on Train?
Any other questions on Train?
No, sounds like it's
Nope,
moving.
that issue's for tonight. What's next?
So I also sent you Dinah today. I didn't have everyone's email address. I apologize. I would have sent it to everybody. We sent you the 90% design documents for the Fields project.
Yes, and I did forward that to everyone. I got it late in the afternoon, but I did forward it.
Yes. Yeah, I do apologize. I was chasing through a lot of things today, so I was like, at the last minute, I said, oh my gosh, I never sent this. And I do apologize for that. But
No worries. We were all busy.
Yeah. So Dr. May is going to be presenting that to the school committee on Thursday night. So if you have any questions, that'd be a great time to kind of interact with it and give the presentation and ask any questions. But look through that. There's a lot of documents there. We can't even, some of the stuff we're not even printing off, because we actually have a paper shortage too, which is kind of causing us a little bit of trouble. But so yeah, looking at the 90% documents, we're looking at with the sewer lines about $7.2 million at this point in time. Again, this is at a 90% design. So, we were going to have to build, we're going to have to look at this and see, where we're at with the project, what we think is going to happen when we go to bid on this. Certainly it's more than what was approved at the town meeting, so it's going to have to be some conversations on that. But if you looking at the fields, you can see we did a little bit of a different configuration on them.
Okay, hold on, Matt. Let's go back to, it'll be costing a little more.
Yeah. So their current projection is 7.2 million, which they have, I think, about 800,000 in contingency built into that. Right now, it's the supply chain that's really kind of driving these costs, and this is concerning for any project that's being done in the municipality right now. I mean, you guys, you have the senior center and the town hall that are going to start seeing some of these difficulties as well. The cost of materials is going up. It seems every time we run a different set of design documents, like all the numbers just keep going up and up every single time. And that's really because, you know, we have inflation on materials, as well as a supply chain that just is lacking reliability at this point. So yeah, this most recent 90% that came out was just about 7.2 million, which is definitely, you know, $900,000 above what we had approved at the town meeting. So
that has gone up. That's gone up from your meeting the other evening. Jim's notes say it's gone up to 6.9. So since the other evening, it's now up to 7.3.
No. So the fields are 6.9, and then the sewer is about 325,000. The sewer lines. Yeah. So the sewer lines were kind of we honestly thought that they were going to be much simpler than what we're seeing. We thought we'd lay down some new pipe, tie into the current sewer that's out there. But as it turns out, the pitch is in the wrong direction, so we actually have to put in sewer injector pumps for the sewer. So it's making that project a lot more expensive than just simply having a gravity-fed system. So that's something we're going to have to talk about a little bit, just because that cost is a lot more than we thought it was going to be.
Now, if I'm remembering correctly, the sewer was going to be a separate item. It wasn't included in the town meeting vote for these construction projects?
Well, I think initially we thought it was going to be part of the field, because we were only anticipating that the sewer line connections were going to cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $50,000 to $120,000. We didn't think it was going to be a lot of money.
Okay.
But now pumps are very expensive, especially once to move sewer. So it has increased that price considerably. And the fields, they're sitting at 6.873, just about 6.9. So that's a little bit higher than what we had approved as well. Again, this is being really driven by, just the market we seem to be operating in at this point in time. The supply chain is not super reliable. Materials just keep increasing every single day. And even the availability is becoming a little, disconcerting for us. So, this is something we're going to keep a close eye on. We're going to keep working with Gail on this and identify, once we go to bid, the bid could be different too. We may have some flexibility in our timeline, which could actually make bidders come in lower if they can get on the field sooner, because we know, we get two kind of phases. We got the football field and we've got the field behind the yell. Well, the field behind the yell, I mean, if you want to start on that the day after the bid's put in, we could do that, because it's not a primary field that's really necessary at that point in time. We use that more in the fall. So we could maybe, by getting the project started earlier, we might be able to actually bring the cost down on a bid too. So. Okay,
I'm just concerned because we were very specific with town meeting that we would not be going back for any additional funding.
Yeah.
And there is an $830,000 contingency built into the project.
Yeah, and that's the piece where I think we can gain ground on with a bid. When we go out to bid, if we can get the project started earlier, start breaking ground earlier, I think some of that contingency will not be necessary, maybe even all of it. So, I mean, we're kind of, right now, we're stuck with where the market is driving us.
Oh, right. No, we all know it's a very tight market, and the first thing we don't want to do is have to cut back on the project scope, but we do need to stay within the appropriation that we, Jim and then Brian.
It was my understanding that there hadn't been a definite plan made about the sewerage, that we're thinking about, when I left that meeting, that it was up in the air whether it would be included or try to be put on a town meeting article as a capital improvement. And it was my collection of information that sort of led me to believe that the committee as a whole thought that a capital improvement article would be more sufficient and meet the town's demand of financing better than trying to tack it on to the project.
Yeah, that's sort of the consensus at this point, because it wasn't as simple as we thought it was gonna be. Really, it was a wonderful if we could have just made those pipes in, with that lower cost that we expected to see. With it being where it's at, I think we do have to have that conversation and say, it does need more of a capital need situation than part of the fields.
Okay, Brian?
My only question is, I'm skimming through their estimate here. Is there any owner furnished items or any items that could be considered owner furnished item? Only do you could purchase those before you go out to bid, and it'll cut down the lead time and the GC markup. I don't know if anybody discussed any of that. For example,
So, like, when you look at the project, things like the bleachers, the fencing, safety netting, stuff like that. When we look at those items, I mean, right now, we've looked at it, we've had conversations about it. We say, okay, these are items that we could probably, purchase ourselves and maybe move out of the bid and get a better price by working it on our end and not have the markup on it. And also, timing of purchasing when we go to buy it versus when they are going to go buy it as far as the project goes. Could actually make those items a lot cheaper. And we could, there's a lot of places to look and say, let's trim here, let's trim there, let's talk about doing those types of activities and see if we can get this down to the number we want it to be at.
Okay. Mike, I believe you had something?
Yeah, I just want to explain that there were 2 articles on the warrant, but the sewer connection article was pulled. That was after the building project article.
Right.
The reason that was pulled was because the connection to the sewer was part of the building project article. So if you go back to capital now and look for more money, you're still going back looking for more money.
Right.
So just to make that clear, that people know that article was dropped because it was anticipated now that would have been in the failed project.
In the field. However, I think going back for a capital improvement sewer project would be more palatable to the voters than going back for additional money in the overall project.
yeah, it's not for sake
It's a matter of perception, but I think we need to look at that. Okay, Matt, continue.
Are there any further questions?
No, I don't see any.
Like I said, Dr. Bay is going to be presenting this to the school committee on Thursday night. All of this information will be available as part of the school committee packet, so people can review it, and if they have questions, there'll be a great opportunity to talk with the school committee and with Dr. Bayet about the project and any questions or concerns that come up after this meeting.
And what time does the school committee begin?
I believe it's 6 o'clock on Thursday night, the 18th. I can check real quick.
They usually start at 6:30. They're around that time.
Yeah, I think they've been, because we do a lot of Zoom, they were trying to move them to 6 just to kind of help us all out, but, it is, 6 p.m. on the 18th.
And that's at the middle school library?
At the middle school library, there's also going to be a Zoom link, so you can link it to Zoom as well.
Okay. All right, seeing no other questions, thank you, Matt, very much. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you for having me. Take care.
Thanks, Matt.
Take care. Okay, now we'll move on to the Town Hall Council on Aging, and we are here this evening to create a short list for architects, designers. The building committee and its representatives were given five RFPs to read on behalf of the town hall and seven, yeah, on behalf of the Council on Aging to go over, and we have tallied a score sheet provided us by our owner's project manager. So, Steve, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening. As you know, our RFQs for the 2 separate projects went out on the 20th. We had a walkthrough at both locations on the 27th, and the proposals were due on the 8th. And as Dinah said, we got 5 for the town hall, and we got 7 for the senior center, support center facility. There were a couple that did submit on both. And we did have requests that the members take a look at them and score them for the rating sheet that we gave out. And we can do this 2 ways, and if everybody's tallied up all of their numbers, we can do it that way, or we could take it as who is your ranking 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I see that Bob Briscoe looks like he has
Individually did it, so.
He has tallied them all up, so
Jim, I think we've all tallied ours on up.
that's fine. So that just means I'll put them into the spreadsheet. In this case, highest number is your first choice, and it goes from there.
And then
Do
if
you want
it's
me to read
a
them
tie.
off and you can plug them in?
Yeah.
Yes, let's do that.
Is there a preference on which one you want to do first?
The only one that I would do right now, just because the member is not here, Mr. Maderos couldn't attend tonight. I can tell you that his top choice for both was DVBW. So you can put that in,
Okay.
No score, though.
no score, but
Yeah.
they had his highest ranking.
Well, you know what, take the
Did
average.
he
He
did it to me
provide
last
you
time.
with a second or a third?
No, he provided me with a telephone call. And I think his second for the senior center would be BH plus A. If that makes any sense.
Well, I guess you could find out what the other average scores were for them. and that.
Yeah, but we can just average their 4 members here
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to sort of
Creative.
put that
Yeah, put 'em
aside
aside
for
for
now.
Yeah, put that aside. I just wanted
Did
to
he have a
note.
second for town hall?
No, he did not. I wanted to note his preferences as I told him I would.
Okay, yep, I have that. You said BH plus A is number 2.
Yes,
For the senior center alone?
for the senior center
Yeah,
alone.
you plus A did not
Yeah,
submit
submit
for the town hall. Yeah, why don't you?
Should we all,
So we'll do, let's do this,
Which one do you want to do first?
we'll do senior center.
Senior center? So if you don't mind, just, I'll collect them and I'll read them off and,
I got it by name, so.
are you going by name?
yes, we'll
Okay.
do, each name, we'll run through each of the rankings for each of the firms, or the score, the total score for each of the firms. Steve will plug it in and then tally it up, at the bottom.
Okay,
All right, so I've got Briscoe, I've got Beckett, O'Brien, Slattery, and Mark G. All right, we'll start with Bob Briscoe. Abacus, we've got 20. BH plus A, 20. GRLA, 20. Fennick McCready, 18. LLB,
So tough.
19. And DBVW, 24.
What about DeGiorgio?
Did you have?
21.
21 on DeGiorgio?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Beckett, we've got DBVW, 22. LLB, 22. BH plus A, 20. Abacus, 20. Fennick McCready, 20. DeGiorgio, 20. And GRLA, 20. Next up, O'Brien.
Yeah, it's all subjective.
We've got LLB, 9. GRLA, 8. DeGiorgio, 5. Fennick McCready, 11. DBVW, 24. Abacus, 17. BH plus A, 18. Next up, Slattery. We have, it wasn't tallied, sorry. Oh, here it is up here, okay. I'm assuming that's your tally at top right?
Yes.
Okay. LLB, we've got 15. GRLA, 19. BH plus A, 21. Abacus, 16. DBVW, 22. Fenwick McCready, 12. And DeGiorgio, 12. Mark G, LLD, 12. Abacus, 18. BH plus 20. DBVW, 18. Fenwick McCready, 16. GRLA, 14. And DeGiorgio, 13. Did you have any scores?
You get.
Oh, did I already go? Did I?
Yeah, I was, you've already done mine,
Yeah,
O'Brien.
go into everybody's, right?
That's everybody.
Wanted to make sure I got everybody.
No,
Yeah, I
think-
just started to panic, where'd I put
Except
them?
Bob Madero's who.
Yeah, it should be
don't really have
5 sets, right?
totals from him, so.
5 sets total, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, no, this, I got 5.
And if anybody wants theirs back, that's fine, we can.
So-
You've already got a copy.
Taking Bob Madero's out, because we really don't have totals for him, but we know what his preferences are. The scores really show that DVW is the first choice at 110 points. Bargman Henry plus Archetype second at 99, and Abacus Architects is third at 91.
Who was second again?
BH
plus
plus
A. Yep.
You have a question?
Did you only want to take into account our scores? Did you score the people?
I have my comments on who I thought we should shortlist. And Bargman, VH plus A was one. DBVW was one, but mainly because they had done the study before. And then I was leaning towards LLB as third, but they were close with GRLA to a degree. But I've worked with LLB before, so I know them. I have personally worked with PH plus A and LLB on previous projects. So I have that, so I'm looking at it from a little different look.
And I've hired Abacus before for my town, for a park and rec facility. So I am familiar with them as well.
So the bottom line, we all had, as far as the committee goes, we've worked with a couple of them also,
Yeah.
so we all had
Mm.
our own,
Yeah, experience.
Experience.
It's valuable, yeah.
And then the second part I looked at is what their actual experience, what were they showing us as, new ground up senior center facilities or community centers, and BH plus A had, as far as the presentation goes, they had the most.
Yeah.
DBVW was sort of joint venturing with Catlin, and I have not worked with Catlin before, but I had spoken with someone who had them do the work in their town, and they were guarded in their comment, but I don't have any
I
firsthand
like that word.
experience on it.
Guarded.
So, I think essentially, you've got, and I understand the fact that DBW did the study, which there's something to be said for that. They've got that.
No, DBBW
Institutional
did the study for the town hall. BH plus A did the study for the council on aging.
BH plus A did one in 19, but I thought DBVW did.
They did one. Did the last one.
They did a follow-up,
Yeah.
but,
Follow-up,
but
yes,
the
yeah, right.
community study and,
Right.
and,
It was two for the
Yes.
senior center. So
Correct.
they have some previous
History.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Right.
But those are my comments on that group.
So, typically, and this isn't surprising, seeing this, like, there's a couple that float to the top. And the real question is, what are the how do you decide that last player that, you know, the rankings aren't everything. I've seen plenty where, you know, the last place person ends up blowing you away in an interview. So it is important who you choose for the short list, because you may go in thinking, oh, I love these guys, and then you all of a sudden change your mind. It can happen. So it seems to me like what you're really looking at here is, you know, who's that kind of third place dark horse that you think is worthwhile to meet and interview, because it's also not just about the firms, right? It's about the people. It's about the
Right.
relationship. Because you may connect with someone from a firm that you didn't think you, just looking at a cold package of quals, you wouldn't necessarily get. So just something to think about in terms of how you want to choose that sort of.
Well, your number 3 is Abacus
Is Abacus.
Architects, and the next closest is Gorman, Richardson, Lewis Architects. So, you know, again, looking at experience, GRLA had one recent new construction, and then the last one they had was in Hopkinton in 2006. Abacus, at least they were presenting a lot of studies, but a lot of it was community/housing.
That's right.
So it's similar, but not exact. But you know, in general, all these guys can, you know, they're established architects. They can do the work. But it's, you know, something's got to drive you to where you really decide to make a decision. So again, you know, like Mike says, 1 and 2 are pretty much locked in. It's, you know, 3. You can go by the scores, or you can have a discussion. You know, it's, I gotta say, you know, 3 and 4 are not close. It's 91 versus 81. But you know, if there's a decision that you want to go with one instead of the other, that's up to the committee.
Maybe we should wait and do the other one and see if there's a lot of common,
Well, I'm just,
or not.
Well, you do have
I'm-
a different group,
right.
pretty much,
Right.
on the second one.
I'm
Except for
wondering,
LLB.
I'm just wondering my nature, so please don't take offense. The committee has ranked. Are you pushing us to include a 4th? Are you expressing your
No.
preference?
No, I am not.
That's up to you.
I'd do the ranking.
Yeah.
If you're interested in interviewing 4, there's no rhyme or reason to 3.
Okay, what's the committee's preference? Just go with the ranking?
I think
Yeah,
we go with the
three.
rank. That's my
Three.
call.
3, we'll go with the ranking.
Okay, all right, then we'll go with the rank, so that would be DBBW, BH plus A, and Abacus Architects. Why don't we do the town hall next, and then we can talk about interview times and so forth.
Is this something that you want to do a vote on, or is this something that you're comfortable with just commentary?
Well, let's do this, and then you
Let's
wanna
do this
vote
and then
on-
we'll vote on the whole package.
Vote on the shortlisting. And then-
Yeah, and I would ask, as you're going to the town hall, Jack Conway is with us via Zoom. He is the town's representative, selectman's representative for the town hall portion, and he will be glad to read you his scores so that you can put it in.
He's on.
Oh, sorry.
Those are.
What's up, Jack?
Oh, you don't want them back?
How's everybody doing this evening?
Doing good. All right, so who am I missing?
Jack.
Jack,
Oh,
and he's
Well,
via
yeah,
Zoom.
Jack, read his off
Yeah,
now.
perfect.
Yep. So I will go in order of highest score first. DBVW with 22. LLB with 17. Johnson Roberts with 16. Then Icon and GNAP, or GNAP, both with 15.
GNAP is right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. O'Brien?
Yes.
Icon 9. LLB 19. DBVW 24. Johnson Roberts 8. And GNAT 9. Slattery LLB.
Up
So I
there.
had- Yeah, it gets me up with that. 11. Johnson Roberts, 13. GNAP, 14. DBVW, 19. Icon, 12. And Beckett, sorry.
Boucher.
Boucher.
I can get it
Don't worry, everybody
both
gets it
times.
wrong.
DBVW 21. LLB 21. Johnson Roberts 21. GNAP 19. Icon 18. And finally Mark G. DBVW 23. Icon 16. Johnson Roberts 16. LLB 18. And GNAP 20.
And we don't have anything from
Maderos?
Madero's.
No.
No.
Well,
He had just
DBVW,
DVD,
but-
Yeah,
Prefer the
but
Yeah.
they're already preferred sons.
Oh, yeah, right, and no, number 2.
No, number 2.
It's kind of moot.
And
No,
I'll,
yeah.
I'll ask you the same question and expect the same type of answers.
Predicting the future.
Well, 2 of them are the same, right?
Well, DBW was highest at 109.
Pretty large gap.
Yeah, LLB was second at 86. GNAP was third at 77. Johnson Roberts fourth at 74, and Icon last at 70.
So again, looks like 2 pretty much front runners, and then the last one, this is closer than the last one, there's only a 3-point difference between the third and the fourth,
Yeah, and
and only a 7-point between all 3 at the bottom.
so, you want me to comment first?
Yes,
Sure.
please.
What was your
I
question?
guess
I think
I
it's the
asked
same
it, I'll
question.
ask it again.
One note that I have on GNAP at coming in number 3, they really had no new experience with the town hall. They were only repairs.
Right.
What they listed. And they also carried R.W. Sullivan as their MEP engineer, and we had 2 jobs that they were, did not do a good job on. So personally, I had them as my bottom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've worked, and we are working right now with Johnson Roberts. We've worked with LOB on our jobs. LOB we did Foxborough Town Hall with. Johnson Roberts we did Drake, and right now we're doing Cohasset, which is a historic
Renovation.
renovation addition. So, and like you had experience with Icon.
Yeah, I worked with Icon, not in municipal work, it was more on the higher ed side. And, I mean, it was a decent experience, it wasn't overly impressive, but not, terrible either, so. But I had no experience on the municipal side, and it is a bit of a different world.
Yeah, and they only had a couple renovations and 1 MEP upgrade.
So
Mark has a
so-
question?
So what 3 were you recommending? Or,
I was leaning towards the DBVW, LOB, and Johnson Roberts.
Johnson Roberts. What was Johnson Roberts' score?
there were 4.
74.
74, so there's only a 3-point difference.
Yeah.
What is the committee's pleasure after hearing the discussion?
I mean, I'll go for, I had them as one of my top 3, so
Jim,
I don't know. I don't want to influence anybody, but
what do you think?
I had 2 out of 3 of them, whatever the committee decides.
Well, on recommendations and discussion, do you want
On
to go with?
recommendations, I'll go DBVM, LLB, and GNAP. But after hearing GNAP, I will acquiesce to
Johnson Roberts?
Johnson Roberts, fine.
I'm the same.
The words in my mouth.
Of course, why not? Mark?
Who did Johnson Roberts have for all their subs were, their subs and?
I mean, sometimes you get the A team and sometimes you get the D
Well,
team, so.
that's true.
It's always tough to,
Absolutely.
you know what I'm talking about.
That's true.
GDD, niche.
They had GDD as MEP, FP. Roman Garcino for structural, niche for civil.
That's just good.
WSP survey, PM&C cost estimator. Landscape architect with ground ink, I'm not gonna name them. Geotech, OTO, and code Hastings.
No issues that you see.
Pretty solid team. I've had some ups and downs with GGD, but we can work with them. I think we have a good relationship with them. Niche is great. I love working with Niche.
Oh.
I've never had a bad experience with Niche on the civil side. I don't personally have any experience with Room and Luciano. I don't know if you have.
I do, yeah. Yep, no issues with them.
PM&C is awesome. We use them all the time.
We usually carry them.
Yeah,
as
a lot of
ours.
times for the owner side, yep.
GDD, I've done many jobs with them. They're accessible directly.
Yep.
You don't even necessarily have to go through the architect. It's that sort of relationship over time. WSP, we've had them mainly on commissioning and HVAC things, but they do multiple tasks.
Good. Jim?
I'll make a motion that we
No, so we voting
interview or
yet?
whatever the next.
No, we're gonna vote now.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, sorry.
Continue.
Well, I was gonna clear up the town hall before we do both
Go ahead.
issues.
Okay.
As far as the town hall goes, that the committee agrees for the three candidates on DBVM, Johnson and Roberts, and LLB.
I second it.
What was it? Did you say DBD?
DBW, LLB,
DBVM.
and Johnson
Oh,
Roberts.
W. I can't read my own writing.
Just turn it upside down.
Yeah, right.
Any committee discussion?
I'm good with it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that's the town hall lineup.
Good?
Now, I will entertain a motion to approve all 6.
So moved.
Seconded.
Seconded. Any committee discussion?
So you just want to, it's
It will be for the senior center, DVBW, BH+A, and Abacus. For the town hall, it will be DVBW, LLB, and Johnson Roberts. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed. There's your short list. Jack? He's gone.
Is there a name only?
His name.
I'll text him.
Turned his camera off.
Jack, you're on mute? Never mind. Okay. Let's continue.
No vote for you.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry about that. I had headphones and I couldn't find my phone. Yes, I am fine with that recommendation. Great job.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. Unanimous vote. Schedule.
Okay, so, next, I just want to touch base, interviews. I think we had talked about it sort of a higher level, that we go sort of 50 minutes, give them 20-minute presentation, 30-minute for questions and discussion.
Right.
It gives about 10 minutes in between. I'm assuming that we would want to go 6, 7, and 8 o'clock.
Yes.
Okay. Just for ease, I would think we'd just we interview them alphabetically as opposed to asking them when they want to come in, just tell them when.
Tell them what time. Yes.
And we can notify?
Yes, please do.
Okay?
My only concern, Mike, meeting space since the library closes at 8.
In Mike's office. Well,
The studio?
when are you meeting? What night of the week?
You could use the senior center.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I mean,
What,
whole 20, 30
what
people.
type of evening are you considering?
What evening?
What evening?
Oh.
like day of the week?
Well, the dates that I mean, today is the 15th. I gotta notify them, give them some time to prepare their presentation. I was thinking Monday the 22nd, and then Monday the 29th. I mean, we got the Thanksgiving week that sort of messes things up.
Right.
And then potentially Monday the 6th.
So that would be November 22nd.
That's right.
29th.
That kind of quick.
Or the
Or the
6th.
No, because if they should be ready to go, I think. You think it's a little tight?
I think it's quick.
One group will get 2 weeks, and one group will get one. 1 week is enough to
Yeah.
put something together, so.
I mean, they have their presentation pretty much done.
Jim?
My question is, in the past, we had a small group interviewing. Are we gonna have this many people interviewing this time around, or are we gonna pick a board representative, OPM and the town manager, or how
Subcommittee.
is that going? Or was that part of your
The pleasure of the,
presentation that I
It's not-
shot?
I assume the entire committee, so,
Okay.
pleasure of the board.
yeah, it's up to you.
I mean, last time, if I may,
Yes, Brian?
we all put together a kind of a questionnaire, if you will, so a list of 10 questions. If we could do that again, and I think a lot of them are the same. I don't know which ones you guys were asked or not.
That's on my agenda to go.
Yeah, so, and I'm a big proponent of, I don't want to tell me how good you are. I want you to tell me how you're going to fix your mistakes, because that's what I do. I'm an OPM as well, and the one thing that frustrates me is you've messed it up, how are you going to fix it? And that's what sells me, is you stand up person and fix it.
I can go through some of the questions that
Yep.
we usually offer.
That would be helpful.
As being what we would suggest, and it doesn't mean that you have to pick any of them, but I have those from other jobs.
Okay, well, let's,
But that.
I like
after this-
that you have the 15, but the committee needs to decide now whether we're submitting our own questions to go with the 15, or whether we all want to be involved.
I don't know if do we all want to interview?
Well, I do.
There's, the last time,
It was just you,
Mike,
Mike, and...
I, and the OPM, and the building inspector interviewed for the OPM.
Yeah.
We could do the same 3 again with questions submitted. Public meeting if you want to come and attend.
I'm agreeable to that.
Yeah.
Okay?
Is it a public meeting, Mike? Is it open?
It is.
It wasn't the last time, right? When you
You're
interviewed.
gonna have
Is it a public meeting, Mike?
a quorum? Are you gonna have a quorum?
You wouldn't.
No, we wouldn't.
No.
No, so it's not
So
a
we-
public
we
meeting?
have-
No. They don't.
It doesn't need to be posted, yeah.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Jack?
I would just like to toss my suggestion into doing it in an open session with the full group. I think there's a higher level of interest in the design partner for the projects. No offense to any.
I'll take it.
Okay, Jim?
I'm just afraid of getting bogged down with a gang of people versus 3 or 4 people. I mean, we're gonna add 4 more people when most of us, or all of us, depending on the way you feel, trust the chairperson of the committee. And by making it all of us, it becomes an open meeting. And
Yeah.
I don't think job interviews should be open meetings, but that's my own personal feeling.
You haven't been on
Say
one
just one
lately.
thing, the interviews, you know, if you want them open or not, I don't think that's a huge deal. We can work out the logistics, but The deliberations is the question, and when you start deliberating, is that something that you're broadcasting to everybody?
Yeah.
You know, it starts to get a little more complicated, not impossible, but a little more complicated. So I would just advise that you think that through before making any decision.
I like a short group.
Better.
Yeah.
I think a smaller group on an interview with these people is better than a lot of people. I've done a lot of interviews before, but I think when you do them, rather than have a whole group, it's easy to do them with a smaller group.
We've done it many different
Both ways,
ways.
yeah,
We've done
yeah.
it where the entire committee's there and they rotate asking the questions. Everybody has the questions that they ask. We've had it where one person has asked a question. We've had it where only the OPM has asked a question. It's up to you as a committee.
There's no blueprint.
But
Brian?
Well, I just think the questions to me are more important than who asks them, or how many people ask them.
Right.
That to me, I think we'd be better off agreeing on the questions
Right,
being
exactly.
asked. I mean, they're all gonna talk about schedule, all gonna talk about approach to design, all blah, blah, blah. I've heard it all before. It's all in there. I wanna know the meat and
Right.
potatoes, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna handle this? That kind of stuff.
Right.
More situational
Okay.
stuff, that's all.
All right, so if we're going to, and I'm hearing a consensus that they want a small group to do the interviews. Sorry, Jack. May I offer then to the group that we begin the interviews on the 29th and the 6th and give the committee a week to get their questions to me, which I can then forward to you. Thanksgiving is in the middle of all of this.
Right.
So this gives us till basically what, next Wednesday,
Yeah,
theoretically?
theoretically until next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Is that pushing it out too far?
What'd you say, the 29th?
So if the committee could get their questions to me on the 22nd, next Monday, by the close of business, I can forward them off to you the 23rd. You can see how they rank with yours.
What I could also do is send you mine, and you could send them out.
I can send it out, and we can
Yeah,
look.
we could talk a little bit about it if you want to.
We may have some redundancy, so.
I'm sure we will.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. I'm just trying to look at a reasonable calendar for us to get you to get the questions to me, them to get the questions to me to respond back to you all without pulling our hair out. Mike?
I just had a question. If you're not doing the full committee, you're just doing a small committee, is there any reason that you have to have the interviews at night?
It's entirely up to you, but no, there's no rhyme or reason behind that.
No, we could pull it down to the day if you want.
We could,
Sure, they might appreciate that.
okay, Mark?
So the committee is Mike, I'm assuming, Dinah, and one of you two?
Well, we'll
We'll be
certainly
there-
be
we'll be
involved
there anyways.
regardless.
Yeah.
Or is it
Yeah.
another
But it's a
member of the
How many
town?
from the town want to join you?
Because you had 3 from the town.
Building inspector last time, wasn't it?
We had two from the town and Dinah.
Yes, two from the town and me.
Is that the same idea?
And also, I guess my question would be, how will you handle deliberation? So are those people gonna make a recommendation to the committee for approval? Or are they just gonna bring back the answers? How do you plan to make the final selection, I guess, is the question.
Well, the final selection ultimately rests with the town manager. No pressure. Feel free to leave the room screaming. So I assume the interview group would make the recommendation to the town manager as we did the last time.
Gotcha.
Does that work for you, Mike? You
And the-
sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Mark?
the building inspector would be the third one?
I'll check with them and get back to you.
Quick question.
Brian,
If the building inspector isn't available, can you have like the DPW director maybe? Because,
we don't have a DPW.
we don't have he's the same? We don't,
No,
oh, highway department, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was leading to, because, they may have questions about the roads and tying in and all that stuff. Might be another valuable person to have, that's all.
We think we can leave it to Mike to
Yeah,
have,
just recommending it, that's all.
Eventually, that is all gonna come up.
Yeah.
With whoever we choose.
right.
Sort of that meeting will come up, yeah.
But no, daytime interviews, does that work better for you?
Yeah.
Works better for me too, actually. So I assume it works better for you guys, you don't have to have evenings out.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say,
On that,
I
on
have
those
a
2 days, it's.
night, the
it's okay.
29th, I'm already booked, so, but just looking at 29th during the day, looks good. And the 6th during the day after 10 o'clock or so. So all afternoon would be good on the 6th, and the 29th if we wanted to do an afternoon. I don't know what your
1, 2, and
schedule
3.
is, Steve.
So
Mike.
the OPM, didn't, the recommendation came back to you guys, right? And then you guys made the recommendation back to me on,
If I were,
No. How
did that
no.
No. The building inspector and myself. I was there representing the, with the full backing of the building committee. So we made our recommendations to you.
So they designated you as the person to represent the committee.
Yes.
Basically a subcommittee.
Well, she's the chairperson.
Single
so.
person. Yeah.
We'd have to form a subcommittee if we wanted to have something else, right?
Subcommittee of one. Yeah,
So,
so if we're gonna pull it back into, I mean, what's, for you for doing it during the day, are we now at like 3, 4, and 5, or?
whatever.
10, 11, 12,
No, he wanted the
1, 2,
afternoons.
3,
Yeah, yeah.
I think 1, 2, 3 is good.
1, 2, 3.
Skip a lunch.
Yeah.
10, 11, 1. I mean,
Yeah, why don't we do 1, 2, 3?
1, 2, 3.
okay.
That'll work.
Does that, think that fits into your schedule, Mike?
Is it okay? Okay.
Which one's first, town hall or COA?
That's the next one. Which, is there any preference to which project?
Depends on who you ask.
I,
Town hall, right, Beth?
See what I mean?
yeah, nice try.
Senior center.
Let's do the senior center first.
So senior center, 1129.
Yep.
Town hall,
Dis-
12/6, and it's going to be at the senior center? Or is
No,
it?
not during
no,
the
could be
day,
at
not
the-
during the
It's gonna be at
day.
Town hall?
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
the stage?
Yeah,
Okay.
on the stage.
On the stage.
And that will be
Design that
just,
into their new-
Is that the selectmen's room?
With rescue
Yeah.
team standing by.
and we're going to do 1, 2, and 3 again?
Yes.
Okay.
Just to recap, we've got the senior center on November 29th. Interviews at the town hall at 1 PM, 2 PM, and 3 PM in alphabetical order. We'll go Abacus, BH+A, and DBVW. 12/6, Monday, town hall interviews at town hall, 1 PM, 2 PM, 3 PM, and that will be DBVW, JRA, and LLB.
Okay.
Right.
So then the 13th is the following Monday, right?
The 13th is the following Monday, and that would be a building committee meeting.
Okay. And the goal at that one is to have a selection, correct?
Yes.
And then we can, at that point, then we can move into fee negotiation with the
With the-
selected. Yep. Okay, that is, that's a good amount of information. And then the only other thing that I had, which we sort of touched on a little bit already, is the questions. If we want to do a question swap, I can do that. I can put something together, send it to you. You can send it out to I can do that quickly so that if, instead of making up, if you see I already have something, then you don't have to write it up.
Brian?
I mean, my questions before are probably the same, so I
Okay.
don't know if anybody else feels the same way. Is it send them, I'm sorry, what we sent originally? Or you want to do different ones?
I want to look at
You
them.
want to look at
Yeah,
them again?
let's,
Okay.
I think the committee should look instead of just moving through.
Well, no,
If you don't mind, I
No,
think
no,
it's
no.
a good thing to do.
No, I mean, still look at their questions, but I mean, do we
Right.
have to redo our questions again? Because a lot of them are going to be the same, that's all I'm saying.
No, if you choose
We
not
can
to,
kind of
you don't.
swap and then,
So just also bear in mind, I believe with only 30 minutes, I mean, we were in the interview for, I think, 90. It was pretty extensive, so.
But we were having
You
fun.
kept talking.
I know, get used to
We
it.
need to whittle it down to probably 8 to 10.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like,
Because
what is
there's
the
gonna
most
be,
important question?
and the last few I've done is, you know, you keep the timer going so that you give them the, hey, you got 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
Because they'll start rolling on something, and you wanna try and get all the questions in so that we're doing apples to apples on everybody.
Yeah, they tend to roll
Okay.
about themselves too far in,
Right.
so that leave less room for questions.
You know, sometimes there's two ways to look at it.
We'll cut them off on presentation. I have
That's
no
what I mean.
problem doing that, saying, you know, let's get to Q&A, because Q&A, in my opinion, is the most important
Yeah,
part.
meat
of
and
it.
potatoes.
I've seen, and I've been involved in some good after presentation question periods where they start out with questions and then you sort of morph into a discussion about the project, which sometimes I think is better. But the problem is you lose that continuity between the
interviews.
It's hard to compare them.
three,
One goes differently.
you know, interviewees, so you gotta watch out for that, but.
Be brief, be brilliant, and be gone.
Right. So, again, I'll send you, tonight or tomorrow morning, what I have,
Okay,
and,
I'll get that out to the
get it
committee.
out, so that way you guys can do as much.
Oh, I mean, I still have my one, so
Yep,
hopefully you ask the same ones, I'll cross them off.
okay, I think we have a plan.
Okay.
Have a plan.
So, one more thing, we're clear, so the 23rd, you would send our questions out to Tom,
Yes,
and then what, they're gonna have
he's,
a
yeah,
final questionnaire by the,
I'll put something together so that everybody you'll have it as a committee, but it'll be there for the interview, and then,
okay,
you know, we can figure, I mean, how you want to handle asking the questions. We can ask all the questions if you want to go back and forth.
Whatever you did the last time.
I don't remember how you did it for us. I think that you guys were
They
swapping off.
rotated.
we
Yeah.
just
So not
rotated.
to throw a monkey wrench into this, but the other thing that you can do that I've found effective in the past is sort of pick a handful, maybe 3 tops of like, these are the couple of challenges we want you to address in your presentation. So they're not just all talking about how great they are and what they did on another town that has absolutely no relevance to you. Say, look, you know, you've got 20 minutes, but, you know, make sure in your presentation that you tackle, you know, these questions about this project.
Yeah,
Budget, yep, there you go, that's one, all right.
Budget,
How do you
budget.
handle budget? And they're all gonna say, oh, you know.
get the
same thing.
scope correct. That's how you handle the budget.
Yeah, so, you
Well, we
know,
would have to decide which ones we.
what are the key issues? And it may only be one, maybe there's 3, maybe there's more, but you gotta whittle it down. But the point being is that if you give them some time to prepare for some questions, but then you have the other questions that they're not prepared for.
Yeah, it catches them off.
You get you get to see
you see how they answer on the
how they
fly.
respond to
Correct.
different situations.
Right.
So that's something I've seen in the past. This is an effective way. 20 minutes isn't a ton of time, but you could still say, you know, maybe 2 or 3 items we would like you to address in your presentation. You know,
So it's like throw them
like you
3.
you said about the mistakes. Okay, so one of your one of your issues may be. Provide us with one example in the past where you've faced a significant challenge or mistake from, on a project that you had to correct, and how did you go about that? Something to that.
Here's one of our questions. If an existing condition arises during construction that was easily observed during design but now results in an added cost, how do you handle that with the owner? That usually
Yeah, that-
goes, now, that wouldn't necessarily be a good question for the senior center because it's ground up, but in the town hall, you have the
Some
existing
existing
town hall that
conditions.
you're gonna be doing some renovations to, so.
Okay,
They're both ground up.
yeah,
Town
town,
hall is a demo, right?
But we're
Yeah.
taking that.
Well, that's
down
a small
part of
phase
it.
of it, but it's a new building.
Yeah.
Both ground up.
Yes,
Yeah.
but the
Okay.
existing town hall
Yeah, that's demoing a section off.
is that
Okay.
right.
I was confused for a minute.
And
Somebody changed something on me?
No.
Yeah, I get you.
No, okay,
So, I mean, but if we're gonna ask them to cover certain things, have to be able to give them
Fair
adequate
warning,
notice
yep.
Yeah.
to get it into a presentation. And as you said,
Makes them think.
you know,
Yeah, you don't want to ambush
Thanksgiving
them.
comes in, but, you know, that's, when dinner's in the afternoon, they got all morning to work on the presentations.
But
Okay, Mark?
you're gonna notify them like tomorrow though, aren't you?
Yes. Well, as soon as we have all the stuff that we need to, if we are gonna go this approach and we make that decision tonight, which we should, then, yes, we can notify them immediately so that they can begin to prepare. So one of the other things that does is that you get to see how they prepare when they've had time for things up front. But I guess the question I would bounce back to you is if you do want to proceed with that, is what are the key things that you really want to hear from them? You know, especially as a town manager and the building committee chair. What are those key items that will help you make the decision and separate out 3 different firms?
I think we could.
Budget control sounds like a
Yeah.
big one.
Budget control is a huge one.
If we could figure that out tonight, that would be great, but if you need some time, I can certainly notify them right away and then follow up with well, by the way, the committee would like to see this in your presentation by the end of this week.
If we have
Because
a couple of weeks before.
It still gives them a full week. And
Right.
then the first group gets a full week before that, second group gets 2. So, if we can do it tonight, great. If you wanna sort of mull the questions and maybe say, hey, these 3, we want them to put that in their presentation, do that.
Brian?
I mean, one, to me, is how are you managing scope? What happens on every job is everybody's in silos. Every engineer is in a silo. We're not picking on engineers here. But then I look and there's an HVAC piece of equipment that doesn't have any electrical to it. Because they don't sit around and do design walk-around meetings like bi-weekly.
Coordination.
Correct, but that word's misused because they pushed it on the contractor. No, I want meeting minutes that says you guys actually met and you gave us meeting minutes, you discussed issues so they can go back and say, this engineer, yep, he took care of that missing item. That's how you manage scope. Otherwise, it's all silos again, and then it's finger pointing, and then we hear we didn't have enough time, we didn't have enough money. Heard it all before. So,
Bob?
I guess you could ask the question on that is how do they communicate with each other?
correct,
And, you know, to make sure they don't miss things.
correct.
Here's one of the questions that we have. What process does your firm and sub-consultant use to ensure that the plans and specifications for construction are complete and won't result in change orders during construction?
That's a good question.
That sums it
what
up.
you're talking
That's a good
about.
question.
Except the only thing I would add to that is it can be biddable. I don't like seeing things say contractor to confirm, contractor to verify. Everything is supposed to be quantifiable,
Hard bid,
everything.
Chapter 140.
Correct,
Right.
but you know how many times they missed
Oh,
they missed all the time? I'll tell you what, they should read the CSI manual. But they write their specs on.
Subbidders nowadays are very astute at what chapter 149 says.
Yep.
And if they find a way to say, I see it on the drawings, but it's not in my spec, so I don't own it,
Correct,
they will go down that path.
correct.
And that takes up a lot of time dealing with
Oh, yeah,
That's not a path we want to go down.
correct.
it. Right, right. I know, granted, there's a million pieces of something going into these buildings, and there's going to be
Something.
some errors in
There will
design
be.
somewhere. It just,
It's gonna happen.
Can't be, they're not perfect. But we wanna minimize those through their own peer review, their internal review, then the reviews that we do. But, we're looking at constructability. They need to be looking at it from the design. Because we're not gonna recalculate load,
Correct.
tonnage on AC. They're the engineers. So when things like that happen, they have to look at that themselves. So that's a great point. We don't want, a quick set of plans and, we're putting out, CD60s for bidding. That's a recipe for disaster.
Yep, I agree.
Okay, so my concern, I echo Mike, number one is the budget. We have a finite number,
The ceiling.
so I need to know,
In a tough market, yeah.
in a very tough market, what are the, add-ons, what aren't?
Yeah.
And I am also, in another method of communication, what is their communication style with the building committee? And what is their communication style with the residents of the community? because there's a lot of interest in this.
Yep.
And I am very much committed to community outreach, keeping the public informed of what's going on, and not necessarily through a building committee meeting or a Zoom. How are they in community outreach?
So do we want to make community outreach, budget control, and internal
Scope creep.
processing or design coordination?
Yeah.
Internal design coordination?
Those are the three I wrote down right there.
Yeah,
I'll add a little bit to that.
okay, because the last 3 projects I worked on, community outreach was vital. And it did create ownership by the community in the project. And it was better off in the long run.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Jack?
I'd like to suggest that we also include the design firm's approach to safety and construction, in particular, safety prevention through design, what they're doing to make sure that the building is safe to construct, as well as for our people to maintain it after it's done.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's 4. And,
So-
VE maybe?
just a second.
Just on the safety, maybe, could you elaborate, what do you mean? You don't mean during construction, you mean after construction in terms of, I mean, a senior center obviously has major
Slip and fall.
Yeah.
subcomponent to that. Is that what we're talking?
So this would be, Madam Chair, through you.
Yes, Jack?
This would be during construction as well as post-construction. It's making sure that all the men and women that come onto that job site to work are
Safe.
doing so in a safely designed environment with thought put in by both the architects and engineers as to how things come together with an eye for constructability.
Okay, Mark?
Typically, Jack, that's the contractor's responsibility for
Yeah,
site
not the-
safety, not the designer.
So the site
But
safety
it
is
starts from
different
the
than
top,
prevention
too.
through design. So we just did an exercise through my most recent project here where we found nearly 200 items that could be designed differently to ensure safety to build and safety to operate. I can certainly share some of that information from your perspective.
yeah.
Please share, that would be great, yeah.
And I think putting it all on the GC or the CM is just, it's too late at that point by the time it gets into the
Should be
field.
everybody.
Having everybody take a proactive approach to safety ensures a better overall project.
Brian?
I mean, I kind of see what he's saying, because I've dealt with like trip hazards and blind spots and certain like things like that. I think what he might be talking about. I don't think it's more the means and methods.
No, I get where you're going.
You know, I mean, you can't tell me you can't use a crane, you can't use a low. I
Yeah.
mean, means and methods, but
No.
I think designing less hazards, I think is what.
Yeah, no, I think I get where you're going, I guess. You said this was an analysis you did on another project?
Yes, so I just wrapped a 165,000 square foot lab and office building, which about 6 months before we started to build, we brought in a team of about 40 people from safety professionals, from our GC, from our architects, engineers, structural consultants, just about everybody on team, even our furniture people, to start thinking about a holistic approach to building a safe environment and how to do that. Some of the stuff was means and methods, absolutely, Brian. Making sure that there's rebar caps on, that the edges on steel supports were rounded as opposed to sharp. But also it worked into, for the structural pieces, in ensuring, used to be beam seats, but now is a different technology, so that it doesn't need to be temporarily pinned. The steel can sit on the member while it gets to be welded. Parapet heights to make sure that there's no temporary fall protection needed during construction, as well as after everything is built. I can send you our list of about 180 items.
Sounds
I was just
interesting.
thinking, it's been a long time, but at one point, there was a consultant, I'm trying to remember the name, but that did something very similar, but during design. So they would take the design documents at certain phases and go through and say, you know, from a safety perspective, you know, this isn't the best, or like, you know, angles of, you know, viewing angles and as you're walking.
Blind
like,
spots, yeah.
Blind spots, like that type of thing. I'm trying to think if that's something we could look into for you, just as a sort of a peer review of the architect during the design phase, with an eye towards these kinds of issues. I'll have to think about that one, but it's certainly something that the architect should be doing anyway.
Thinking about what the guys have to do to make this work, and what they have to put themselves into. Yeah.
I think there's that slippery slope of means and methods.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
tough when you're doing an interview with an architect, when you start to gray those lines a little bit, that becomes a challenge for them to respond to, because it's not always under their control. But certainly from the design perspective, it absolutely is, so I'll have to think about that one, best way to get that in.
So for example, Madam Chair.
Yes, Jack.
If you say you have a fan coil unit that is sitting near a two-story atrium, making sure that the filter change on that fan coil unit is accessible from a safe spot outside of the atrium, so you do not need a lift or a tall ladder to do that. It's thinking about things like that, just the orientation of devices.
Yeah, that's post-construction.
Specific example.
What I think he's saying that a lot of times when they show a rooftop unit, and I've seen a lot of engineers who haven't done this, is the units will come with a CAD file that has all those operating footprints, and a lot of times that stuff's hidden on a drawing, you don't see it, so you become lackadaisical to it, and I think that's what Jack's saying is sometimes there's those kind of things that we forget about. So now this is starting to make more sense.
Yeah, no, I get where he's coming from, absolutely. Trying to think of how that would be framed in an interview scenario. How
Well,
we would
I guess
put
an ideal one which would cover both post and during construction is, guys, don't put a rooftop unit, 3 feet from the roof edge. Because number one, guys have to work, put it in, and they're
Right.
close to the edge. And then maintenance is the same thing. That's sort of an ideal example.
Yeah.
Pull everything in. You don't have to deal with rails on the outside of which are an aesthetic eyesore sometimes.
Don't put a flat roof in New England.
Yeah, right.
Good luck with that.
I've lived through too many buildings with flat roofs
Oh,
in
the-
New England.
Well, with the price and availability of rubber roof right now, it's make them pitched.
That's true, that's true.
Okay. Are we good?
I think so.
So I'll incorporate those four in the invitation to come in for the interview and say, we'd like to see you incorporate these into your presentation.
Your presentation, okay.
And then I'll still send you them.
Please. And I'll get them out to my committee and their comments back to you.
Great.
Okay, is there any other business to come before the building committee?
Next meeting.
Our next meeting is December 13th. If I am correct? Yes.
Where?
Hopefully here,
Typically here.
typically here. Okay. Hearing no further business, our next meeting is December 13th here at the library. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Jim, second. All in favor?
All right,
Thank you very much.
all right, that's
Thank you
productive.
very much.
Yep.
No, I'm just.